Well, joining me now to talk more about this is Afghan journalist Bilal Sarwary. Welcome to the program, Bilal. Really good to speak with you.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
So I just want to start, this time last year, you wrote a really moving, sobering account of what was happening in your country as the Taliban came to power, and you wrote, basically the unraveling broke you from within. I'd like to ask, 1 year on, has that changed? How do you feel about your country now?
Well, the last 1 year under the Taliban, we have seen a full-scale Talibanization of the country. We have seen a crackdown against Afghan women, against Afghans. The Taliban have banned music, they have banned soap operas on television stations, and they have literally been basically going back to the 1990s when they first ruled the country. So the idea that there were Taliban 2.0, how it was sold by Western pundits and analysts is simply proven wrong. It is also interesting to see that the Taliban are still behaving in many ways like an insurgent group. They're not behaving as if they are the current de facto rulers of Afghanistan. But one has to really, feel sorry for the Afghan people who are, hungry, who are struggling to basically keep food on the table. And the Taliban's basically internal dynamics are also very interesting, because one day you hear someone in Kabul say that girls' schools for secondary education will be open. The next day, that decision is contradicted. I mean, again, these are all contradictions at the cost of a nation. And not to forget that an American drone strike killed the leader of Al-Qaeda in the heart of Kabul city. He was being housed by Taliban's interior minister, Sirajuddin Haqqani. So it is a very big dilemma for the West as well as for the region. I would also say, that the Taliban are facing a number of crises, economic crises, the recent natural disasters, and the country is simply bankrupt because the United States has frozen the assets of the country that in reality belongs to the people of Afghanistan.
There's so much to unpack there. But just to go on this final point, the fact that there are sanctions, Afghanistan is facing huge sanctions because, as you say, it is operating, like an insurgent group, but it is the people, again, who are suffering. They're paying the ultimate price without this much needed aid. How do you see this changing?
Well, it is very much also on the Taliban, because we have to go back to 2021 when the Taliban took over power militarily, when efforts to start the peace process quite simply failed. We have to now see, hopefully, a solution where the Taliban basically do a certain things, that the Afghan people want. Opening the secondary education to girls would be a first step. Adopting to the reality of the 21st century might be, another flexibility that they might or might not show. But the United States simply punished the people of Afghanistan for what was, a failed attempt at not bringing, a ceasefire or a peace process. But it was also a withdrawal in the 11th hour. I was, for example, forced to leave my country along with, many of my colleagues and other young Afghans. And now it has been a year since that's happened. The Taliban have literally shown no change in attitude towards, our colleagues in civil society and media who are currently operating inside the country. It is also interesting to look at the regional dynamics. Countries like Pakistan that openly supported the Taliban, or Iran, they have not formally recognized, the Taliban government. And Afghanistan is not functional in terms of trade with the neighborhood. So there are a number of challenges ahead, and quite tragically, the people of Afghanistan once more are the ones who are bearing the brunt of all of these events.
Oh, right, Bilal. I really just have about 30 seconds and I need to squeeze this in. Seeing all that, now that we've seen them in power for a year, what do you think the future of Afghanistan looks like?
I think the road ahead will be one of severe economic crises. There's a crisis of leadership within the Taliban, so we will have to wait and see how the Taliban can overcome that, and also they're facing an insurgency from former government officials, but also from the Islamic State. So those will be areas that one has to closely watch.
Bilal Sarwary, so good to speak with you. Thank you for your time and insight. A new twist